We are living in a volatile political environment. You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorable.
Come on, man.
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Come on, man. And if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It was a debate.
So, it has been a spectacular start for politics in 2023. The vote for speakership in Congress was historic. Now, you might think differently depending on where you land on the political spectrum. Now, if you are a neocon or a liberal, you might think the opposite of what I just said. If you are a progressive lefty, you are probably feeling shock and jealousy because the new generation of the conservative right, which is the Freedom Caucus, did exactly what progressives were asking of their representatives within the Progressive Caucus. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me explain. In 2021, hashtag Force the Vote was started by the progressives on Twitter and pundits on YouTube. They were demanding that the Progressive Caucus use their leverage of a small margin vote to threaten Nancy Pelosi from retaining the speakership. Progressives on Twitter and YouTube were asking for concessions for Medicare for all, and the Progressive Caucus could have easily used their leverage because in 2020, there were 95 of them, and they needed less than 15 votes to keep Nancy from speakership. Also, to provide context, Medicare for all was something the entire Progressive Caucus ran on to gain votes within their districts. And obviously, hashtag Force the Vote did not happen because AOC and the squad didn't want to hurt their reputation amongst the Democratic elites. The Freedom Caucus, on the other hand, during the speakership vote, did exactly what every progressive was asking of the Progressive Caucus back in 2020, which was hold your vote until our demands are met. And I have to say, bravo to the 20 Republicans within the Freedom Caucus who put their foot down and said no to the uniparty shill, Kevin McCarthy. It took 14 votes for Kevin to finally give in to those demands. And on the 15th vote, McCarthy gained the amount of votes needed to become speaker. Kevin McCarthy made history because the last time something like this happened was in 1923, which took 9 votes to decide the Speaker of the House. No, and I'm excited for the new leadership within the Republican Party who are standing up and saying no to the status quo. And the Uniparty better be scared because their way of doing things is slowly coming to an end. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Deplorable Talk Show. You are here with Mr. Deplorable himself, Israel Perez. So, this is a show where I give my unfiltered opinion on politics and culture. I know nothing about the things I choose to talk about, but this is America, where opinions are just like assholes. Everyone has one. I just choose to record mine and spread it on the internet. So, today, we will be discussing some hypocrisy that occurred this week, well, maybe 2 weeks ago, with President Joe Biden. Then we will move to Kamala Harris. We all know how great of a speaker she is, and we will show a video to prove that statement. The big lead for today will be an example of crony capitalism. I believe in the free market, but I don't believe the market should exist unregulated. Laws and fair capitalism does not work. And sorry to the anarchists and libertarians who think that is a better system. We need governmental regulation, but we don't need so much that it bleeds into the market, that it creates this good old boy club that then makes it where small businesses or individuals can't progress without a rubber stamp of elite monopolies. And then we will end with a hilarious video about a girl and her butt. And that will be in a segment called Today in TikTok. So let's start off the show with a little bit of hypocrisy. So I'm sure everyone remembers this.
An extraordinary and unprecedented scene at former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago property in Florida. FBI agents Monday executing a court-authorized warrant at the former president's private residence. Trump and his family were not at the home during the raid. His son, Eric Trump, on Fox News.
30 FBI agents, actually more than that, descend on Mar-a-Lago, give absolutely, no notice, go through the gates, start ransacking an office.
Trump himself seen in New York ignoring shouted questions, but confirming the raid in a statement saying his property was under siege and that the agents even broke into his safe. Sources tell ABC News the raid is part of the investigation into allegations Trump improperly removed presidential documents, including classified material from the White House when he left office, a possible violation of federal laws.
Okay. Trump was in violation of federal law because he had classified documents at Mar-a-Lago estate, right? Every shit lib was like, they finally got him. The writing's on the wall, man. They're finally going to put Trump in jail because he has classified documents. But they were forgetting the fact that he is a former president. And being the president, you have the power to classify whatever the fuck you want to declassify. He can literally just say, that's declassified. And then you had leftist pundits come out with so-called experts who are claiming that a president can't just declassify something. It has to go through a process. So what you're telling me is that the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, has to ask a bureaucrat for permission to declassify something. Get the fuck out of here. No, I'm sorry. I am sorry. That doesn't fly with me. But all the leftist pundits and keyboard warriors on social media were calling for the government to revoke Trump's ability to run for office in 2024 because of the FBI's allegations. Now, and if you want to play that game, sure.
On the evening of November 4th, 2022, the National Archives Office of Inspector General contacted a prosecutor at the Department of Justice. It informed him that the White House had notified the archives that documents bearing classification markings were identified at the office of the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, located in Washington, D.C. That office was not authorized for storage of classified documents. The prosecutor was also advised that those documents had been secured in an archives facility. On November 9th, the FBI commenced an assessment consistent with standard protocols to understand whether classified information had been mishandled in violation of federal law. On November 14th, pursuant to Section 600.2b of the Special Counsel Regulations, I assigned U.S. Attorney Lausch to conduct an initial investigation to inform my decision whether to appoint a special counsel. Mr. Lausch has served as the U.S. Attorney in Chicago since 2017. Before that, he spent more than a decade as an assistant U.S. Attorney in that same office. I selected him to conduct the initial investigation because I was confident his experience would ensure that it would be done professionally and expeditiously. On December 20th, President Biden's personal counsel informed Mr. Lausch that additional documents bearing classification markings were identified in the garage of the president's private residence in Wilmington, Delaware. President Biden's counsel informed Mr. Lausch that those documents were among other records from the period of the president's service as vice president.
There we go. So let me recap and add context here. Merrick Garland just said Biden, during his current presidency, had taken classified documents from the Obama era to his think tank called the Penn Biden Center, which is linked to Penn State. Penn Biden Center was not authorized for storage of classified documents. Now, Biden can easily say, I declassified those documents. Sure, this is fine, because the president has the power to do that. No? And the only problem here, with that situation, is that they were stored incorrectly. Okay, whatever. But the second batch of classified documents found at his personal residence in Delaware, those were moved there by Biden when he was vice president. The vice president does not have the power to declassify documents. So then that means that Biden broke federal law. And by the logic of the left pundits and keyboard warriors on social media, Biden should be revoked from presidency immediately, or he should not be able to run for presidency in 2024. And just in case you were thinking, well, if Biden gets charges brought up against him by the DOJ, that means Trump will too. Wrong. Because those classified documents were declassified by Trump during his presidency, because he was the president and he had the power to do that. And as much as I dislike Kevin McCarthy, he made some good points the other day, and it reinforces what I just said.
President Biden, he wasn't president. He was vice president. He held these in different locations right out in the open. He criticized President Trump. Did he utilize the Justice Department to raid President Trump? Did you think that was right? They knew this has happened to President Biden before the election, but they kept it a secret from the American public. He goes on 60 Minutes, criticizes President Trump, even knowing what he has done, and he wasn't president at the time. Now we find another location that it's at, but he refused to answer. His press secretary won't answer the questions. This is what makes America not trust their government. You cannot have one form of law because somebody philosophically has a different opinion than you, and you can't use the Justice Department to go after people that are politically different as well.
Good points. Credit where credit is due. So, my questions are, where is the raid on Biden's personal residence? Where is the squad of cop cars parked outside of Biden's house for the media to gawk at? Where are the 30 FBI agents ransacking Biden's residence? Why didn't the FBI go through Biden's personal belongings with a fine-tooth comb for 8 hours, as they did with Trump? Where is the media at to provide non-stop coverage? Where is the DOJ at with their grandstanding of how good of a job the FBI did by releasing staged photos of the evidence? You know? Where's that? Where's it at? You know? Hypocrisy, I say. So, let's hear what Biden has to say about this whole situation.
Let me, we're going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
Thanks.
But anyway, yes, as well as my Corvette. But as I said earlier this week, people know I take classified documents and classified material seriously. I also said we're cooperating fully and completely with the Justice Department's review. As part of that process, my lawyers reviewed other places where documents from my time as vice president were stored, and they finished the review last night. They discovered a small number of documents of classified markings in storage areas and file cabinets in my home and my personal library. This was done in the case of the Biden Penn. This was done in the case of the Biden Penn Center. The Department of Justice was immediately, as was done, the Department of Justice was immediately notified.
Jesus, Biden.
And the lawyers arranged for the Department of Justice to take possession of the document.
There we go. Jesus Christ. You're going to make it through that. Well, in other news, no, that was bad. This is just the thing, is when it comes down to it, I don't care about the Penn State shit. I care about, because he was president then, right? I care about him taking documents as vice president. I want to know why he had those documents, what was on those documents. With Trump and him taking those documents that he did, some of those stuff he declassified and he felt like he wanted to help. I don't know. I don't agree with it, but you can do that as a president. And I would like to know what was on those documents as well. You know, and if we have to criticize Trump, we have to criticize Trump. And I'm perfectly fine with doing that. He's not this golden god to me. But it's just the hypocrisy of the whole situation is what I don't like. You know, they were ready to fucking toss Trump in jail. That's what everybody wanted. He's finally going to go to jail. And they had nothing, so they couldn't do it. Anyways, in other news, Kamala Harris gave a stunning explanation about the Caribbean during a climate change discussion at the University of Michigan.
So, for example, I convened, and I've convened now at least 3 times, a group that has their acronym CARICOM. It is the Caribbean nations, island nations. In the Western Hemisphere, that is where the Caribbean is. We are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors.
Oh. Thanks. Thank you for explaining to me where the Western Hemisphere is at, and that the Caribbeans are our neighbors. No, she is speaking to an audience of university students, not 3-year-olds. It's insane. She does that all the fucking time. Like, she sits there and like she's talking to a group of little kids. That's the way she explains shit. Because I'm sure those college students know where the Western Hemisphere is, and I'm sure they know that America and the Caribbean both reside within the Western Hemisphere. It's insane to me how she talks to people sometimes, dude. It's degrading. Anyways, this brings us to the big lead for today.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So, let's talk about the controversy that is currently happening amongst the right-leaning content creators. The biggest name in alternative media is Steven Crowder. He has one of the biggest conservative news shows on YouTube, which is called Louder with Crowder. In his last week of airing, before his holiday break, he came out and announced that his contract is up with The Blaze. The Blaze is a conservative platform that pulls shows together and offers exclusive contents for a yearly fee. You know, the way he made it sound in that episode wasn't a good departure, but there was no bad blood. You know, and from the sounds of it, The Blaze, learning that Crowder would not be renewing his contract with them, withheld information about his show as a fuck you for leaving. Well, at least that's my interpretation of it. On his last show for the year, he told everyone that he would be looking for a new home for Mug Club and would be giving us updates throughout the months of January and February. Well, that update came. It came last week on the 17th. And I gotta say, it was not good news.
Now, I want to be clear about something. This video here, it's not about The Blaze. When they were purchased by CRTV, the company's goals, their vision, simply grew further apart from mine, from ours here. It just wasn't the right fit. Yeah, I wasn't thrilled about some things and the handling of Mug Club leaving, and that's why we launched mugclubforever.com, where you can sign up just to be able to reach you. This really isn't about that, so I want to create some separation here. Business relationships end all the time. That's business. But I was in a period to field offers from other people, other key players in this movement. They flooded in. Now, before you guess who it is, before you start trying to do some Sherlock Holmes work, there are far more people beneath the tip of the iceberg than you know about who are trying to get into this space. There are more than you would probably assume. So I went into free agency. I looked over the offers. And I saw the clause come out. And I don't just mean unreasonable demands for control, but what I would argue are immoral terms that actually punish conservative content creators on behalf of big tech. And that's something that I just couldn't unsee. And I want to let you know, it's not the exception. It's the rule. Kids out there coming up. We need to build a bench here in this movement. It's almost impossible. Don't sign these contracts.
No, he's a good speaker, man. That's what I got to say about Crowder. He's a good speaker. No, and what I gathered from this portion of the update is one, the Blaze screwed him by not giving him his membership analytics. But this update was not meant to address the Blaze. The update was to inform us of the predatory contracting being done by our allies. You know, people that say they are here to help the movement. You know, the anti-establishment conservative movement. These companies are going through and grabbing talent from the independent conservative pool of content creators and offering them the chance of gaining their hopes and dreams to the tune of $1 million contract. In return for those millions of dollars, you must give them ownership of your brand and everything that comes with it. So, let's jump into this next clip and see what this unnamed company offered Crowder as a contract. And just to put it bluntly, I would have told them to go fuck themselves.
Effectively, full ownership of all your social media platforms, channels, in perpetuity, the rights to your content, name, image, likeness, even the ones that you've built.
That's
Don't
wrong.
sign contracts out there that include multi-million-dollar penalties for different. Let me read you an example of what I mean. And this would be if it was me. If Crowder fails to deliver a monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads, and by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5 ad reads per show, which would fundamentally change what this show is.
Yeah, he doesn't do any
those dollar bills.
ad reads at all because he relies on membership.
If I failed to do that, it would be a $250,000 reduction in fee per quarter.
Wow.
If, let's say, we did do everything per quarter, but annually maybe missed something, like let's say we went and did a Change My Mind instead of a daily show, which of course requires a lot more work, there'd be a separate $1 million penalty for that if you miss a single piece of content. And the amount of content required is not in line with, frankly, it's worse than Disney, it's worse than ABC, it's worse than NBC, it's worse than CBS. This is ownership of you and everything that you do. But here's, just to drive it home, don't sign something that has another $100,000 daily penalty.
Yeah. Jesus, get fucked.
If it's not signed off on.
No.
Beforehand. You get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day.
Exactly. Exactly. That's insane, man. That contract is worse than what you would sign with the record company. Now, when I was DJing in the clubs of Seattle, I would get a chance to talk to artists and I would ask them, how the contracting works when signing to a label. And they told me never to do it without legal counsel because in most contracts, the record company ends up with everything but your name and merch. This contract that Crowder just showed us, they get everything. And on top of them getting everything, they also penalize you hundreds to millions of dollars. That's predatory. I'm sorry. No, that's a big no. Wow, dude. That's insane. No, that's on the level of like used car loan predatory. And I've fell victim to that. When I'm just trying to get a car and I just need to get into a car and they're the only people that's going to give me a fucking loan. Oh, well, we'll give you a car at 25 APR. It's like it's going to... Anyways. No, they feel like they can get away with it because they are offering you millions of dollars on a contract. It's gross. And it is exploitation of small content creators who are trying to get ahead. And if you thought that was the end of the exploitation, no, there's more.
It creates an air of hopelessness. It really does. where you think the people who are supposed to be linking arms and fighting with you, fighting for you, want to punish you. So here's the worst part. Do not, kids, under any circumstances, sign a contract with people who claim to be conservative, but will penalize you 25% for any demonetization or sponsor boycott. Look, let me read this to you.
Jesus.
If any of the major platforms... Oh, no, sorry, that's the second one.
They're not just making money on
There's another 20%.
for the demonetization, then they take other money from you
strike.
because of that
Let's
demonetization.
start with the demonetization.
Jesus.
If blank is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of the advertising partners, the company is not able to replace them within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25%.
Wow.
That's a sponsorship boycott. So that's saying, hey, liberals, boycotts work. They work on our guys. We'll punish them for you. Let me go on. Specifically, YouTube demonetization. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, and the company is not able to resolve the issue within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25% moving forward.
No.
Now, I thought this was a mistake because, these people maybe didn't know who I am, that we've been demonetized for 3 years.
If I would have saw that, I'd have been like,
no, it was made very clear to me in no uncertain terms.
No.
This is what's sent out to everybody. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20% reduction. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify. Imagine you're deplatformed.
Holy shit, dude.
As we've seen in the past, where all of the major entities decide to remove you in one day. Rather than having a conservative alternative, you would now be down to 5 to 15% of the revenue of your contract.
Yeah, that's gross.
Think about this for a second. Those in charge, the big conservative, the big con, and it really is the biggest con going right now, they're making it known in their contracts that they will enforce the guidelines of big tech and punish conservatives on their behalf. Don't worry, Wojcicki. Trust me, these conservatives will stay in line. If they get demonetized, we take away 25% of their operating budget. Take another 20% away if they get a hard strike. Hey, don't worry, Zuckerberg. We've got your back. Hope to see you at the UFC Apex.
Jeez. That's horrendous, people. That is horrendous. 25% reduction for an ad drop. Everyone I watch is demonetized on YouTube and rely on subscriptions to pay the bills. So what you are asking from conservative content creators is that we need to play within the rules of advertisers that already don't like us, which are the same advertisers that tell YouTube, Apple, Facebook, and Spotify to demonetize people, that they have a differing opinion. You guys don't get our advertising. No? Now, a perfect example of someone who would be losing millions of dollars if he was to sign this contract is Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon loses ads all the time because of his content. No, he creates content that is a little edgy, but he doesn't care because he's not changing his content at the whims of the advertiser. But with this contract, he would have to change his show altogether. You're asking people to conform to the establishment, something that these conservative companies claim to be fighting. And I can't believe that they would put in their contract that you lose 25% for a content strike. The company who wrote that contract should know better than anyone else that YouTube loves to give content strikes to people who go against the narrative, especially if they are conservative. I have a content strike because I was talking about the 2016 election and how Democrats for years screamed it was stolen. And within that segment, I read an article that was showing the total number of votes Trump got in 2020 because I was trying to give context to what I was talking about that had to do with the speech Biden gave at the time of that episode. Now, that was the only thing in that segment that mentioned the 2020 election. And YouTube hit me with the content strike and said, I was questioning the results of the 2020 election. Now, that's how easy it is to get a content strike. If they don't like what you are saying, they will find a roundabout way to give it to you. They pieced together two parts of that segment that had nothing to do with each other. In that segment, I pointed out hypocrisy in one part, and then later I was giving context to another part, and they said, content strike. And I'm being very vague because I don't want to get another one because of that fucking thing. I know, it's insane. It's insane that they are asking you to do what they have been facing and fighting before they became big. These content creators that band together to form this company are asking you to do what they did do, which is not conform, right? No, and I'm foreshadowing here because we know who wrote up this contract, and to be honest with you, there's really only two big conservative companies in the game of content creation, and that is The Blaze and The Daily Wire. And can you guess who it is? I was really hoping it was not The Daily Wire, but I was not surprised because ever since they have become huge, they've kind of lost their roots. They are almost on the same level as Fox News. They are a powerful conservative media outlet that built its success upon the foundation of anti-establishment and counterculture. I think their fucking slogan is "Do not comply." It's like, come on. No, and the reason we know it's Daily Wire is because Jeremy Boring came out and tried to steal the narrative by releasing the video before Crowder came out and said it. And I have to say, Jeremy showed his hand way too soon.
All right. Our friend Steven Crowder has launched a new initiative called Stop Big Con. And in the video announcing the launch of the project, he talked about leaving the Blaze and all the different offers that he fielded from other conservative organizations and what he thought were the real problems with those offers. And that's led a lot of people to speculate about whether or not the Daily Wire is one of the people who made him an offer. In particular, are we the ones who made the offer that he put up on the screen and talked about at length? And the answer is yes, that offer did come from the Daily Wire. I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. In fact, I think it's a very good offer. But I think there's a lot of
course you do,
sort of misconceptions about the nature of the offer, the nature of the points. I think Stephen misunderstood a lot of the points. And so the way we do here at the Daily Wire, we're just going to be incredibly transparent. You know that we like to have our members be a part of the journey. We live stream all of our company town halls, for example. We just find that sunlight sometimes is the best disinfectant. And so with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be in conversations with Stephen, how those conversations ended, and walk you just line by line through what the actual document that we sent over to him, a non-binding term sheet, what it actually said and why.
There you go. There it is. There it is. So, as we can see, it was Jeremy and the Daily Wire. And throughout that video, Jeremy goes through the whole contract, giving transparency to what they offered Crowder. But what you have to understand is that this is a contract that they offer everyone, all right? But not everyone is going to get $50 million like they offered Crowder, okay? Jeremy is putting out a PR stunt and basically saying this is a good offer with the amount of money we are offering Crowder. Okay, sure. No, and I'm not gonna go through and cut up this whole thing that he did because it's an hour long. No, and realistically, I only have to show you one part to make the point of what is wrong with this contract and why Crowder is upset.
I'm just going to walk you through it. Full transparency. This non-binding term sheet sets forth the basic deal points of a proposed content production and distribution agreement between the Daily Wire, LLC, a Texas limited liability company, and Steven Crowder via his loan out, so that if and when the parties elect to move forward with a long-form agreement, they can move quickly in preparing a definitive and binding agreement. That's just legalese. That means this is just a conversation starter, and we're obviously going to have a negotiation if we move forward, and a lot of these points are going to get beat up. And for those of you who've never been through a contract negotiation, well, that's how it works. When you send someone an offer, you don't send them everything that you're willing to say yes to, because there is going to be a negotiation, because agents and lawyers are going to get involved, because you can't read their mind. You don't know everything that will be important to them and everything that they'll want. You don't know even, some of their sort of non-negotiable points. And so you send over a loose offer, and then they're going to beat it up a little bit. They're going to say, well, this should be higher and this should be lower. And you're going to come back and say, no, we're going to stand firm here, but we're willing to compromise there. And over time, you either get to a deal or you don't get to a deal. But that's how a good faith negotiation always works.
Sure. All right. No, this is just the thing. Jeremy is talking in the context of Crowder and the money that Daily Wire offered him. He is saying Crowder's lawyers go over it, and then they send a negotiation to us. We read over it, and then we send our negotiation back and forth until the deal happens, or no deal happens at all, right? But he's talking about Crowder and how good of a deal it is for the amount of money that he offered Crowder. And that's not Crowder's problem. His problem is with the exploitation within that contract. No, he has the money to hire lawyers to do the hard negotiation with the terms of that contract. His problem is with the exploitation of content creators who don't have those means. The content creators who don't have the money to hire a lawyer to go over this and just sign it because they see six figures. If they do have the money, they might hire a shitty lawyer who doesn't care and says, it's good, sign it, give me my money. No? The Daily Wire is taking advantage of people who are starstruck and don't know any better. The contract they are pushing out to starving content creators is no different than the porn industry finding starving models and luring them in with thousands of dollars to fuck them on camera. That is what they are doing. They say they are here to help the movement. They say they are pushing back at the establishment by creating a space for anti-establishment voices. But this contract shows they are the establishment. They are part of it. No, they don't care about being an amplification for other conservative voices. They want the money, and they are going to use up-and-coming voices as a means to an end to grow their empire. It's gross. It is. And shortly after they put out that PR clip, it's not a clip, but whatever, you understand what I mean, Crowder answered back.
They don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand. They can be wage slaves for a little bit. They can be wage slaves for a little bit.
God bless the talk boy. Those things are worth like $5,000 now. It's an expensive gag. So didn't want to have to do this, but Daily Wire outed themselves very, very quickly.
Yeah, they did, man. They
sure
didn't
enough,
need to.
If you see all of the people who work there, some of whom I have relationships with, they immediately tried to make this all about money. Here's the problem. There are a few problems, and I'll go through with some receipts. Everything that was said about negotiations, how they transpired, beyond the numerical value, which is true and I'll get to, everything else is untrue. I don't really want to get into that. It's completely irrelevant. Here's why. Go back to the 20-something minute video, 30-minute video. You've never heard me say or write anywhere online that these offers weren't paying enough money. Why? Because it's not about the money.
Yeah,
it's kind of unreal to me that the only thing these people can still talk about is the money. The conversation was about conservatism, the movement, and big tech. They keep talking about money. I'm talking about a country. I'm talking about a movement. I'm talking about making a difference. It's not about the money. And Jeremy and the Daily Wire know that. How do I know they know that? Because after, according to what he said, I walked away from the offer. I did place one more call to the Daily Wire, and I made it very, very clear that it wasn't about money. That was not the topic of conversation. There was zero, as they've tried to portray this, miscommunication. It was one last call where the only thing that I asked for, my only demand, was their word, and not even for me, but for other people coming up facing these kinds of contracts. Let's say it's a kid who comes in with 500,000 YouTube subscribers or something like that, 100,000. Let's say it's some other kid you're paying 6 figures to come in and do it. There's not the penalty of the demonetization or if they're removed from iTunes, Apple, YouTube.
Yeah, sure there would be.
And here's something else. I was also very measured. I was painstakingly clear in taking myself off the table because it wasn't going to be a right fit. That happens in business all the time. But that we weren't talking about me. We were talking about the futures of other people who could potentially be in that position, that very disconcerting position. No miscommunication. What I'm talking about is you're describing a model for everyone, not just, let's get rid of me here. Everyone, if there's a penalty for being demonetized on YouTube, because your business model requires that be a huge component of it, you need to change your business model or this movement cannot work, Jeremy. I can't imagine my show trying to come up and be beholden to YouTube advertiser guidelines, let alone, honestly, being beholden from a conservative entity with hard strikes, right, being removed, but let alone being advertiser friendly. We know how broad those guidelines are. They might as well just read, don't say anything offensive, and they change them at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that the guidelines aren't terrible. I'm suggesting that if making money off of those platforms is part of how you're justifying the salary you're paying someone, then or the fee I keep saying salary, the fee you're paying someone, then when those go away, everybody loses money. You can't pay the same amount.
But you're not offering young content creators $50 million.
We were thinking, of course, telling someone else, hey, change your business model.
They're offering them $1 million, maybe $500,000, 2-year contract, $500,000, 4-year contract, maybe $2 million.
Here's the thing.
They're not offering
small
content creators $50 million.
On how to. Here's the deal. I want to sit at the table with people who, granted, have an immense amount of power and have incredibly deep pockets. That is all true, to be clear. And by the way, it's something that I want to have on our side of the aisle. But I offered a guide on how to do it. It is incumbent, this is what this is about. It is incumbent upon conservatives, if we believe what we say, to uncouple, to divest, if you want to use that term, from big tech. Right? For the business models of the movement as we move forward, to not rely on playing ball with Facebook and with YouTube. That is something that we have to move toward. You know that we've been trying to do that here for years. That's why every single show we say, hey, if you can watch on Rumble, please do so. We're not looking to be banned on YouTube, but at least we certainly won't compromise the truth in order to be advertiser friendly. Here's the thing, Daily Wire. Jeremy, and I really do hope that we can talk at some point. Please, you can pick up the phone. We've done that. We here have found a way to make that work. For proof, see election night, our numbers on Rumble there, and see the numbers on Rumble when we get suspended from YouTube. I think it was 4 times this last year.
Man.
And I went to great lengths to communicate that to the people at Daily Wire. There can be no next me if the people at the top with the financial resources are doing the bidding. That's being the arm of big tech. What you just said is, well, we have to play ball with big tech if we want to make money. Well, I don't. Why don't you guys follow a model like I have and scale it? That's what I've been doing since 2014. You know that. I've been trying to make sure, which I thought we were all doing, that we can all flip the bird to Silicon Valley. This is saying we need him and you need to play ball.
Exactly. That's what that model is. Saying don't get in trouble because we're trying to make money here. No. We're going to take everything from you, but we're going to give you tons of money. That's what that is. You know, and the Daily Wire has tasted that money. Money corrupts, man. And they lost their way. You know, and Crowder is right. You don't change the culture by becoming the very thing you were fighting. The Daily Wire is on the path to becoming the next Fox News. And that could be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. You know, Fox News is publicly traded because it is under Fox Entertainment. The Daily Wire isn't. Fox News makes shitty contracts that benefit them and only them because they have shareholders to answer to. You know, they need to make sure that they are getting maximum amounts of a profits out of the employees so they can present a profiting bottom line. The Daily Wire is not publicly traded, so they have no one to answer to but themselves. They don't need to make contracts like that. You know, people pay the Daily Wire a lot of fucking money. Like, I think it's $240 to access all of their contents. And here's kind of their model here. So, they are currently giving a discount, as you can see. But the all access is currently $12, but it's usually $20 a month, and that's paid annually. So if we were to take that, it comes out to $240 paid up front for the year and not including taxes. The Daily Wire has 1 million subscribers. If 10% of their subscriber base paid for all access, they take in a cool 2 million. No? And let's just say the other another 20% pay for the Insider Plus, right? That's 2.4 million they take in on that. Now that leaves about 700,000 users that pay monthly at $14 a month for the Insider. That means the Daily Wire makes $9.8 million monthly. Annually on monthly subscribers is 118 million. And that's rounded up. Right? That's rounded up. I think it's like what? It was like just shy of 118 million. And they are probably pulling in about 125 million yearly with everything added up. Now, I understand you have to factor in taxes, wages, business costs, D&D, etc. So, let's just say their bottom line is 1/4 of what they make yearly. All right? And that should put them at a profit line of $31 million. Okay? And let's just, and you can drop that. You can drop that. Let's just say fucking $20 million. Sure. But with that kind of money, there is no need to have a predatory contract like that. That just says to me, power and greed. We will give you millions, but you give us everything you built. And once your contract is up, we own everything and you get nothing from it. Unless you sign another predatory contract that lets us take more from you. Nowhere in that contract does it say you get royalties if you leave the company. They get to use your content that you signed away. And they can bastardize it, manipulate it, and use it to their advantage and pay you nothing. But, if you want to use your old content, you have to pay them a licensing fee. It's wrong. It is. It is wrong. And it is a contract that they themselves would have not signed. And here's one last clip to bring home everything that has been said in this segment.
Would you walk away? What would it take for you to walk away from $50 million? Because it's true. That's exactly what I did. It's exactly what I'm doing. And so long as these contracts out there include enforcement of big tech, of punishing conservative creators on behalf of the people we claim to fight and the people who have long since demonetized us and can't stand me, and part of me doesn't blame them. As long as these contracts include that, not even for me, but the next person, I wouldn't take $1 billion. And certainly not if you understand in context, when behind closed doors, I know, and these people know, and acknowledge exactly what's being done to the next generation of creators.
Bench talent, young talent, they don't get deals like this.
So they don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand.
That you then own.
Well, I own parts of it. I don't own it. They can, when their contract's up, they can still go out and they'll still be famous. They can keep doing their shows, so go do a show somewhere else. They'll be in a far better place. You help to make them.
No, not long about this contract. This contract owns it in perpetuity even after the contract. You're paying a lease but getting ownership. That's what this contract reads.
On the content that we paid to produce, yes.
Exactly. 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 That content that blew you up within the years of your contracts and got you ahead, you don't own any of it. Not even a sliver. Those merch ideas you came up with to promote your show, you don't get to own it. Your slogans, catchphrases, you don't get to own it. The name of your show, you don't get to own it. The only thing you get to own is your face and personality. You get to choose to live a life of stability or venture out on your own with nothing. That is predatory contracting. It is a setup so that way you never leave. You stay there and they bleed you dry because you learned a life of stability. And to the people that say, well, what about the free market? They are a private company, and who are you to tell them how to run their business? They need to make a profit, and that is just capitalism, you know? If you don't like it, start your own company. Fucking, I hate it. What the Daily Wire is doing is not free market capitalism. It is crony capitalism. They are a current monopoly within the conservative space. There is no one currently that can rival them, and they know that. These contracts are a form of rent seeking. It's exploitive. They want to make sure that no one can rival them, so they grab everyone in the space and make them sign contracts that make sure they never make enough money to go against them. It is a way of gaining wealth from them and making sure content creators never gain upward momentum. They stay a slave of Daily Wire. And that ends the big lead.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So, let's end the show with something fun, huh? Let's take a walk through the land of TikTok and a segment called Today in TikTok.
Today in TikTok.
Ding bong, ding dong, he's Stone Cold Aye.
So, in Today in TikTok, we have a video of a girl who didn't get the outcome she wanted.
So I did that stupid fucking trend where you put your phone in your back pocket and you record while you walk around the store so you can see who looks at your ass. And I'm about to tear up because of this. Nobody looked at my ass. Even though it's really juicy. Nobody looked at it. I have never been so broken.
It is so juicy. And it looked like she was about to laugh at the end. So I'm hoping It was a joke. But who knows with those TikTokers? And that was Today in TikTok.
Today in TikTok.
Freedom is strong.
Don't trust China. China is asshole.
All right, that ends the show, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button and definitely subscribe. If you do subscribe, make sure to ring that bell. I upload episodes weekly, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Audio listeners, you can subscribe too. Thank you for listening. But hey, you know you want to watch the videos we played. So you can watch the Deplorable Talk Show on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. You can listen to the Deplorable Talk Show on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Stitcher. I don't know if anybody uses Stitcher, but whatever. You can find links in the description below, or you can head to thedeplorableent.com. That is the general hub for all things deplorable. Take care, guys. See you next episode.